up a little bit. Yeah. We have a friend who's 6'8". A rickshaw love. If you're careless with your kisses, find another turtle dove. I can't live on rickshaw romance. No, not me. If you're gonna rickshaw, baby, I'm going to set you free. I can't make it. Somebody's got to go. Jeff. Is this the 25th? We're just sort of standing up and reading the script, and then Wednesday we drop the script.
Let Bob take you. Come and get in it. Come on.
And the song you caught on it.
How did you taught us the song, Rosie? Karen? We caught on that fast. I don't even know if they gave us the tape. No, you got to come in and lean in close. Come on.
Fine time to tell you now. The show is
still have it. Yes! What's that? This is the tin can that Cary Grant's left rear tire ran over, remember? You mean to tell me you had that tin can in your purse all this time? Well, it finally paid off, didn't it? Now's my perfect chance to get him to autograph it. Wish me luck, okay?
Wait a minute, Joe. I can't remember all that. Let me see if I can grab some of the right stuff.
Stop!
Then I'll be going around the bend.
No,
not a broke, a bend. then after that, the bend, where do I go, Joe? I keep going till I come to a gas station.
Ethel!
All right, an Ethel station. Then I go left on Coldwater. Did you get that from me?
What?
Coldwater. Okay, Joe, what's that one?
Here.
What's that?
Cold water.
See you tonight, Joe. Did you put any of that down?
Oh, only a sip, but I don't have any germs.
I'm talking about the directions to Joe's place.
Some of it. I got some of it here.
What have you got?
Let's see here now. Take a left on back. Take a left on back. Oh, take a left on Maple, that's it.
And?
Well, that's all I got. My eyebrow pencil broke. But I'm all set now.
What do you want me to do? Call Joe back?
No, I want you to sign this for me.
This?
Yeah.
What is it? Bullet shell from an elephant gun?
No, it's lipstick.
Lipstick? On a napkin? All the chip joints, all the towns, and all the world. She has to walk into mine.
Humphrey Bogart in Max Factor's Raspberry Rage. Good girl. Wonderful, yes. How long of a show would you like us to do? I see. No, I'll hold. Ethel, he says he only wants us to do a quick little number. It seems he's booked a couple of big headliners to star in the show this year. We'll find out who. Yeah. Mr. Wyman, who are the big headliners? Teensy and Weensy. Well, they don't come any bigger than that. I understand. Oh, sure. I understand that. Oh, no, we'd still like to do the show. Sure. Yeah, well, we'll see you in Jamestown. Goodbye. Why do you suppose he's starring Teensy and Weensy? I mean, nobody's ever heard of them outside of Bedford, Tennessee. I don't know. He said their papa, the sheriff, was bankrolling a big musical for them to star in. I wonder what musical it is. I don't know, but I have a feeling it isn't Little Me. I don't care. They can have Broadway, but they're not going to be the stars in my hometown. Well, what are you going to do about it? I don't know. But I'll think of something. Well, whatever it is, brother, count me out. There goes your solo.
That was a good solo.
Solo?
10 minutes before curtain, they were fine.
Their stomachs all tied up in knots.
You don't say.
And Mrs. Mertz and I are fully prepared to go on with the show.
Oh, really?
Yes. We got everything under control.
Is that a
So
fact?
on with the show.
Look, you don't
The
seem
show
to...
must go on.
But the
The
star...
show must go on.
Sheesh. I suppose you'd like an introduction?
How do you do? I'm Lucy Ricardo.
How do you do? I'm Frank now. No, cut that out! What's the name of your act? Pickpocket Pearl and Sticky Fingers Sound?
Very comical. We are known as McGillicuddy and Mertz.
I don't know how that Ricardo fellow does it. Well, anyway, folks, without any further ado, I'd like to welcome you to the Sunday afternoon varieties starring McGillicuddy and Mertz.
And so much that's good. I would like to go home.
God bless you.
I am now going into a trance. I will try to contact Fifi. The next voice you hear will be the voice of Fifi.
Apple to Fifi. Apple to Fifi. Sounds more like French coup.
Is something wrong?
I don't seem to be picking up any Fifi signals.
Perhaps there are evil spirits present.
Evil spirits? Oh, my.
This theater is known to be haunted.
Haunted? Can't you kind of ask evil spirits to go away?
I'll give it my best shot. Apple to evil spirits. Apple to evil spirits. Come in.
This is the most miserable day of my life!
Mr. Merriweather, it's not Jillian twins, it's just Teensy and Weensy. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce the stars of the show, Teensy and Weensy. You're all wondering why Teensy and Weensy are tied up like this. Yeah, well, you see, it just so happens that Teensy and Weensy have been touring with the rodeo for some time, and they do some wonderful road trip. No? I know. They've been with the circus, and they do some great road trips, and no? I know when I lived. Ladies and gentlemen, I, Lucille Esmeralda, get up like this. Well, this is my hometown, and I wanted to be the star of the show. So I had my cousin Ernie Ford come and because, well, I never get to be the star, they always, and I never get to be my own show.
Cousin Lucy.
Come on out here on the stage, Ernie, and join the show. Everyone else has.
There you are, you little varmints. I held them down as long as I could, Cousin Lucy. But they're stronger than a runaway mule train.
It's all right, Ernie.
Because I known I was going to sashay out here on the stage, I'd have brought my guitar.
Never mind that now, Ernie. I was just, confessing.
I know. I heard you tell them how you corked the jug.
You're not sore at me?
Oh, Teensy and Weensy was gonna tie the knot. I figured I'd get down here quicker than a bobcat with a burr under its tail.
Well, listen, we've got an idea, Ernie. Come on over here.
Oh, Lang, if you was all to square dance and then you walk.
Gee, that would be a wonderful way to end our show, huh?
Yeah, sure, Lucy, it would.
No hard feelings then, huh?
Good luck. Okay, now, cousin Lucy, you stand down here. Okay, cousin Effie, you stand here. Teensy and Weensy, you stand where you can get a good view of this whole thing. Now we're going to get some stage hands here to dance with you ladies. So, Jim and John, Jake, Jill, let's clear up the stage a little bit.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, we got a lot of stage hands.
That's right, the third, fourth, back. Side, couple, back. Third, right, third, side, couple, right, third, right, back. Side, couple, right, back. Now, head the lady, shake across, side lady, do the same. Head the lady, shake right back, side lady, do the same.
Would kill to have, and that is to say that the woman whose face has been seen by more people more often than any other human who ever lived is from the city. It's also been said that every moment of every day, somewhere in the world, Lucille Ball is on television. Her show has been dubbed in over a dozen different languages. It's seen worldwide. And nearly 50 years later, it's just as fresh and new as it was when it was first seen.
I send my best wishes to all of you in Jamestown. And tonight, you're in the presence of another show business legend. I know this is true because she keeps telling me this. Ladies and gentlemen, a great gal and a wonderful talent and one of my favorite impressions, Miss Carol Channing.
And all that, but I must tell you that these are your questions that I have here. I must tell you that my main experience with Lucy and Desi was that Desi, you know, they wanted to put on a sitcom with Ethel Merman, and they believe in Broadway people. Vivian Vance, I was my first show, let's face it, with Danny Kaye. It was his only Broadway show. Vivian Vance was in that show, and Lucy whisked her right off Broadway and into I Love Lucy. Well, Desi, after the divorce, they had been separated for quite a while. Desi decided to put on a sitcom with me. So we made a pilot, and in the process, he directed it, and he kept saying, no, don't say it that way. This is too It's special. You must say it like Lucy said it. And I said, yes, all right, I'll try. And then he said, no, Lucy would say it this way. Then she'd throw herself on the floor, and so I said, all right, I'll try. So finally I said, you know, Desi, honestly, one of the first rules of show business is not to be a lousy second, to somebody else. It's wrong. You can't do that, be somebody else. And then he went right on saying, yes, I know that. I know more about it. Now you go ahead. And then he would, and nobody can be like Lucy. Nobody in the world. I could try all I wanted. You are just stuck that way, a man in love. He was married to another woman. Lucy was married to another man. They were a long time apart, and he couldn't forget her. I knew it. Redundant. Anyway, she had this little boy. They were very little. And I understand there's a man named Jim Brochu, a close friend of hers, that used to play cards with her in the afternoons. And he told me that Lucy told him about this. It seems that she used to play cow with this little boy. Oh, you know it? You know that. Isn't it heaven? You haven't all heard it? Oh, they were very little, and they played cow together. And so her grandfather said, well, now, who played the cow? She said, not me. I didn't have one of those little things that you could get the I wanted to tell you about, she was in a Broadway show, her one Broadway show, and she was fabulous in it. Oh, and the audience ate her up off the stage with a spoon, and it was called Wildcat. And her big song in it, Cy Coleman wrote the music, and her big song was, Hey, Look Me Over, that one. Well, anyway, so they decided they were going to cut the song. So Lucy said to Cy Coleman, they were in Philadelphia trying out the pre-Broadway tour, you see, before they were to come in and be reviewed by the New York critics. So there they were in Philadelphia, and she said, I have a contract, Cy. Is it in your contract? We have complete approval of everything. They can't take this away from us. They can't take your song away. They can't keep me from singing it. So she said, okay, it's against the law. You can't go against the contract. She marched out and said, I want you, Cy, to go to that corner and get a policeman who's directing traffic in the middle of the thing. If it's against the law, he should arrest them. So the director, so Cy went that way, Lucy went the other way. They got two policemen. She stopped him from directing traffic, showed him the contract, said, I want you to come back to this theater and tell the producer and the director that she said, come with me, I'll tell you what to do when you get. She walked in the theater and said, arrest those two people. Do you know they were so crazy about Lucy, they did it? They put them in the slammer, and that's what happened to the producer and the director. That's what happened to Lucy in her Broadway show, and they kept the song in. The other performers, and she was dear to me. She was dear to Betty White. She was dear to, but everything you just saw on the video, everything I turned and said to her, she looked at me as though, oh, that's just marvelous, that's heaven. She looked at me with great appreciation. I was never so appreciated as by Lucy. She gets excited with other performers. And not every performer does that. Some of us get frightened, And she didn't. She just, loved me to pieces, and I was so grateful. I thought, she wanted me to be funny on that show. She did everything to make me funny. The most generous woman you ever want to. And then we went to Jason's restaurant, once with Desi and another time with Gary Morton. And each time she was sweet. Well, I must tell you that Betty White's mother and Lucy's mother were very close friends, because the two girls were both on television and all that, and so they got to be great friends, and they would go everywhere in Los Angeles together. Well, Betty, with all her love for pets and dogs and all that stuff and animals, Betty told me, you've got to do the Circus of the Stars, Carol. You must do it because it's all animals, and it's the greatest thing you can do for animals. And I said, oh, Betty, for heaven's sake, yes. So they gave me Max the baboon. And Max was, a baboon is the most ferocious animal in the jungle. I mean, a lion is nothing in comparison. A baboon, he was captured in Senegal, West Africa. And I was the first person that he was working with besides his trainer. So I went for rehearsal, and it took 2 months to rehearse this. We did a little dance together, Max and I. So the trainer said, Smaha was his name, he said, look, you must sit in the cage with Max. And during the day, just sit there and read a book until he gets used to you. Now, you mustn't be frightened because they smell fear. So I said, well, can you leave the door unlocked? And he said, oh, yes, all right, if you want it unlocked. So he said, here, read a book, just relax, and let him know that you're at home with him, and he has to get used to the smell of you. So I'm sitting there reading this book, and suddenly a screech came out like on a police, siren. It was just, it was the most terrible thing anybody ever heard. And all the circus people came running, and they said, what's the matter with Max? We never heard Max like that. I turned around and looked, Max was upside down, hanging above me, with his fangs out, swinging toward me, ready to bite me to pieces. I opened the door and ran to the main office. I thought, it just seems to me Max is right on my heels. So I ran, slammed the door, got in the main office, called Betty, and I said, Betty, I'm not doing this show. You and Lucy can yell all you want, I'm not doing this show. Now you pushed me into this. And Betty said, oh, Carol, we all had to get used to you at first. Becky Yannock. Is that right, Becky? Yeah, Yannock. And what was your most embarrassing moment on stage? Oh yeah, well we found in Gentlemen Furlongs, we were breaking in Philadelphia. That was my first starring part. And that's when I first met Lucy too. And the scenery, they didn't have room in the Forest Theater in Philadelphia, so the scenery had to go straight up to the ceiling, and they had lots of scenery that would just go up. So my dresser said, they forgot the dressing rooms in the Forest Theater. So you have to go down under the street in a tunnel and across the street to an office building to change your costumes. And we didn't have time. She said, I've got the perfect place for you. Now, we'll go right here, and we stripped down to like a blue jay, and got ready to look your head. Oh, so the scenery went straight up. And yes, that's what happened. So I'm standing. Oh, I didn't tell it right, did I? Well, I'm standing there with nothing on except the body mic, and I'm saying, you take the bra, I'll take the tights, because we're breaking in and we didn't have a chance yet to rehearse this change. Changes have to be rehearsed 100 times before it gets like a piece of choreography. So we're standing there hitting one another, saying, you take the bra, I'll take the tights and so on. So I turned around, and there was the audience. Lucy and Julie Stein, the great composer, came backstage and said, "Can you do that every night?" Yeah, it was the highlight of the show. So anyway, then we have, that was my most embarrassing. Now let's see. Mary Kay Monroe, what do you think of Lucy's hometown? It's just the kind of small town everybody wishes he came from. My cousins are here with me, my family, and they said, "Gee, what a sweet town. This is what everybody dreams, wished he came from." You know, we went to the, what club across the street? It's very old, and my father used to tell me I'd love to be a judge in a sweet town like just a sweet small town. This is it. And the people, well, we won't go into it, I don't want to embarrass you. But yet, only men, they always have a 5 o'clock shadow when they do me, and there were 7 of them in Las Vegas at one time. And I just don't understand, but that's all right. I know I don't sound like that. Even Lucy said, "Hello, Dada." I don't sound like that. No. But apparently, see, the most dangerous thing is that everybody that does me sounds like so many others that do me. They all sound alike. So there's some semblance of truth to these things. That's what's frightening. Well, anyway, it's an honor. Nobody wants to be, I used to do Marlene Dietrich, Tallulah Bankhead, and all these, Bridget Bardot and all, because I adored them, so that finally I'd say, well, I'll just be Marlene Dietrich. That's what I'll do. I'll just turn into it. And that's the great, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. James R. Johnson, did you learn diamonds are a girl's best friend from Marilyn Monroe? She learned it from me, James. I was the original, for gosh sakes. Wherever you're sitting, James, you might as well know. She sat there for 1 solid month. Fox bought her a ticket in the 3rd row center. Do you know the orchestra never saw anybody that beautiful? Even Milt Rosenstock, the great conductor, who was glued to his performers, you know, he did the whole show that way. Nobody looked at me. Everybody looked at her. 3rd row center she sat, and even Bus Davis was on the piano. And they said, "But you gotta look, you gotta see this girl, she's so beautiful." Nobody could do the show straight. They just kept looking at Marilyn. And Buzz said, "Ask her, does she have a brother?" You don't know it. Well, now I'll explain it to you later. Anyway, so you know that at the end of the month, she came up 2 flights of steps, Marilyn Monroe, all by herself, knocked on my dressing room door, and I opened it. She said, "I just wanted to tell you that I've been here every single performance, matinee and evening show, and every morning I woke up, I thought, oh goody, I get to see that wonderful show again. I just had to tell you I was never bored." Well, she took her life in her hands. I could have kicked her down the stairs. She did, because she was already in the papers as doing the movie of Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. And I thought, I said, "Oh, you didn't need to do that. That's very kind of you. It takes some of the terrible sting off of the thing for me. I wanted to jump out the window." It's like having your baby kidnapped, you know. And so she looked at me, and then I wanted to reach out to her to hug her or something, and she was shy, and she just backed up and ran down the steps. But she didn't know that I could have murdered her. Isn't that strange? Well, yeah, there. Now, Betty Walrod, when are you coming back to Chautauqua Institution? We want you. Oh, Betty, I met and shook hands with you at the Christian Science Chapel. Yes. Hello, I remember you. Oh, hello, Betty. Here, you know, I must tell you that many people ask me, how old did you say you were, Carol? I didn't say. Well, see, as I say, I was born into a Christian Science family, and they don't believe in birthdays. That's right. If you're a Christian Science, you just forget your age. Well, come to think of it, I do know a few Catholic and Jewish girls who do the same thing. But with me, it's legal. But you know, a lot of people think that Christian Science, we Christian Science don't approve of doctors. That's just not true. I adore General Hospital. Some of my best friends are doctors. We have them to our hospital. There isn't anything I wouldn't do for doctors. Except get sick. See, that's the thing. We just don't believe in being sick. Well, anyway, so that's what that is. I can't get used to it. It shows you how old I am, doesn't it? When I was at Chautauqua before, I didn't need glasses and I didn't need hearing aids. Well, here we are. Wait a minute. Can I have one more question, Rick? Yes, I can. Well, you see, we have this gala after this, and it's going to be right here on this stage. So I don't want to blouse up the whole evening on the gala. So what do we... Oh, this is the one I put aside. This one over here, where is it? The man that asked me, what do you still do Cecilia Sisson? So I thought, oh, gee, would you like that? And that's me, yeah. Well, I'll do as quickly as I can for you. Very few of us remember a girl named Cecilia Sisson. She starred in the first all-talking, all-singing motion picture, Mississippi Melody. Beautiful Cecilia Sisson with the face of an angel and the figure of a wood nymph. Among the top 10 at one time, and now but a memory. What happened? This is the inside story. Oh yes, I'll use the standing mic. My name is Cecilia Sisson. S-I-S-S-O-N, Sisson. I starred in the first all-talking picture, Mississippi Melody. I've been on the silent screen for 7 years. And I've worked with Wallace Geary, Buster Keaton, C. Aubrey Smith, and many others. My career was going great guns when suddenly something happened. Overnight, I hit the skids, so to speak. They seemed to feel that there was something wrong with my voice. Absolutely asinine. There wasn't a thing the matter with my voice. It was studio politics. That's what it was. I just wouldn't play ball with the producer. And I told him so in no uncertain terms. Now, when I watch all the old movies on TV, I say to myself, Cecilia, oh girl, with your looks and talent, You could have been one of the greatest stars today if you'd only been able to keep your big mouth shut.
What did she say?
Yeah.
She says, yes, I look like George. I said, well, he's 103 and dead. She said, no, when he was 60.
You look like George.
Oh, is this she's really?
But that was a real great. Cut me down pretty good. That was good.
He was all confused, right? You said George Bush
I know it.
instead of George
Can she?
Burns.
Oh, she corrected me. She says, no, George Burns.
Well, it's part of good comedy. That's terrific.
Part of my act, yeah.
Part of your thing.
Well, let's get out of here.
You're going to be asking for autographs pretty soon.
Got another one of those things.
He'll be signing autographs.
Get it on there?
Like a little